Prepare to meet what the chroniclers of the deep called the mariner's nightmare, the octopus. These otherworldly creatures are the stuff of the Hollywood horror movie and Victorian melodrama, simply because nothing was ever known about them. Yet these fascinating, almost legendary creatures that can have a 9-meter reach have been minding their own business in the ocean deeps for 200 million years. For 30 years, deep in cold North Pacific waters, Jim Cosgrove has been studying this little appreciated slimy sucker, hoping to pull back its veil of mystery and so overcome a less than endearing image. Octopussies are like aliens. They're so unlike any other animal we've ever encountered. They have no skeleton, and in the seafloor world of nooks and crannies, that's no bad thing. Octopussies make Harry Houdini's feats of escape positively pale by comparison. They'll evade capture by squeezing into the tiniest of spaces. And what other animal has 3 hearts? Or blue blood, based on copper, rather than our own familiar red, iron-based corpuscles? Octopussies are weird. The modern jet engine, it's said, was inspired by these creatures moving through the seas, squirting water from their siphons to provide propulsion. Yet it's this very weirdness that sadly has colored our judgment of this hapless beast.
Human beings have an interesting association with octopus, but almost always they're portrayed as an unhealthy, slimy, devious, sinister, horrible animal. There are pictures of octopuses devouring ships. In fact, they are extremely interesting animals. The intelligence of them is most intriguing. It's a challenge to study an animal that may, in fact, be studying you.
The giant Pacific octopus lives throughout the northern Pacific Rim, but the largest by far are found along Canada and America's northwestern shores. It's in British Columbia, off Vancouver Island's east coast, that Jim Cosgrove has been carrying out research on octopus for as many years as he cares to remember.
Good morning, Jim. Not too bad at all. Yourself?
Yeah, pretty fair, pretty fair. Let's see it.
Hey.
Gorgeous day.
Oh, it's off to a wonderful start.
So, that's the last of it. We're ready to roll.
All right.
As a small boy, Jacques Cousteau had grabbed my interest, and I'd read most of his books. And also, at that time, we acquired a television, and Sea Hunt was on, and that was a fascinating show. And I watched that, and of course, was a really big drawing card in that era for people to get interested in scuba diving. As a young boy, when I was first learning to dive, one of the big challenges in British Columbia is to see an octopus. And I'd done a number of dives without seeing one, as most people do. Eventually I discovered one and was really quite enthralled with it. And I found that there was very little information. In fact, we didn't know how long they lived. We didn't know how big they really got, although the stories were huge. I was really interested in answering some of those questions.
Jim's intense interest in the subsea world naturally led him to take a master's degree in marine biology. But it was his fieldwork with octopus many fathoms below the ocean's surface that would teach him most about these often elusive creatures. After a little searching, Jim and his diving partner discover a good-sized female who looks less than enthralled to have her afternoon nap cut short. Females are generally smaller than male octopuses and tend to be slightly less aggressive. While it's true that they're not the evil, ferocious creatures we see in books and movies, big male octopuses are not necessarily shy and retiring. This is not a job for the faint-hearted.
They can cause you a lot of difficulties. They're very strong. If we find large males that are moving around, we have been attacked on occasion. I've lost a mask, I've had my hood pulled off, I've been dragged more or less towards the den. We've had some various vigorous discussions as to who was going to wear the diving gear for 3 or 4 minutes. Fortunately, the animals tire quite quickly. Nevertheless, if they were successful in getting your regulator out of your mouth and you couldn't recover it, you'd certainly drown.
Back at the surface, Jim, against the odds, has somehow managed a sleight of hand and stuffed the writhing animal into a sack.
Sometimes they decide they're not going to come out. This one was getting towards that decision, but finally got it. I think it's a female, but I haven't had a chance to look at it closely yet, so we'll do that.
After being unceremoniously decanted into a bath, the octopus makes it known that she has no intention of becoming a guinea pig and immediately heads for the door.
You go 1, 2, whoa, 3.
Left to her own devices, the octopus could probably find its way over the side of the boat. They can survive out of water for extended periods, and in aquaria, they've been known to climb from their prison cells and stalk the halls looking for food in neighboring tanks. Other than mammals, octopuses are by far the most intelligent animals in the ocean. They're reckoned to be as bright as a cat or a dog, and they can solve simple problems like opening containers of food. What's more, they seem to remember how they did it.
Those suckers all the way to the end. It is the fact that an octopus is intelligent that attracts me to them. They are slimy. There's no question that they are, because that mucus protects their body. They can squeeze in and out of incredibly small places, and so the mucus is actually kind of like oil. It just greases their surface, and they can pop in and out. Octopuses are something like sharks in that they're kind of fear but fascination type of thing. So people often are, ooh, and they're repulsed, and how ugly and how terrible, and it looks like a nightmare, but they never stop watching. They're fascinated with it. They're really intriguing creatures.
The octopus is released, and the dive team moves to another site, where a week earlier, Jim had spotted a female, possibly building a nest.
About 65 feet of water.
Nearby harbor seals laze away the day on the rocks. Seals, sea lions, and otters are the octopus's primary natural enemies. Since the sea otter was largely hunted out in the 19th century, the octopus population has thrived. Today, there's a small-scale commercial harvest of octopus in British Columbia, mainly for halibut bait by commercial fishermen. And there's also a growing market for octopus flesh for sushi. But exploiting these animals could quite quickly play havoc with the population.
When females hatch out their eggs, they die at the end of that. So if you take a female before she's laid her eggs, then she hasn't had a chance to reproduce. Consequently, you're going to have a pretty severe impact on a population if you have a heavy fishery.
With the lure of a ready market in Japan, it's now more important than ever to try to fully understand the octopus's life cycle.
Now the focus of my research is on nesting females and looking at when they breed, where they breed, how they produce eggs, how long they stay with the eggs, what their behavior is, what changes in their bodies we see over time, and then finally when they die, what kind of reproductive success have they had.
To find the nesting female, Jim and his research assistant Leah will have to dive to a fairly deep site, about 30 meters down. At least that's where Jim thinks the female will have started preparing her eggs. But at this depth, divers can only work for about 18 minutes before having to surface. Octopuses have a rather unique reproductive cycle. The female entices males using a chemical attractant. Mating is the ultimate in safe sex. The males hand the females a packet of sperm, which she stores away. 6 weeks later, when she's found a suitable den, she applies that sperm to her eggs. Then she gathers up an armload of rocks, seals the den off, and attaches her eggs in large strings that hang like Christmas ornaments. After some searching, the nest site is located among the rock crevices. But before a closer inspection, the researchers collect some additional data. Water temperature